starting off with our very first speaker, who has served urban unit as well. She's a very eminent city planner, and was leading urban planning team at the urban unit and doing different consultancy, foreign qualified planner. Let's all welcome Miss Sani Zahra.
Assalamualaikum ji. Thank you very much for having me. Focus on the topic or the message that I am trying to give over here. So in totality, if we look around, life actually demands a balance. So Allah has created us all in pairs, and which actually implies that there is no competition or there is no comparison among men and women. Rather, it actually demands the collaboration and partnership. And if we quote Quaid-e-Azam from around 80 years ago, he had several sayings for the women of Pakistan, but I'll just pinpoint a few sentences over there. He said, "No nation can rise to the height of glory unless women are side by side with you. Let us try to raise the status of women according to Islamic ideals and standards. There is no sanction anywhere for the deplorable conditions in which women have to live. Women have the power to bring up children in the right lines. Let us not throw away this asset." And last, a man must be made to understand that a woman is his equal, and women is his friend and comrade, and they together can build up homes, families, and nation. So let's shift a little focus towards the professional side of the urban and regional planning and role of inclusion, as well as, I would say, exclusion of women, particularly from the built environment. And not only as a user, but actually in planning, designing, development, management, administration, be it any area. And we, in this 21st century, when it is an urban century, we all know that urbanization offers a tremendous amount of potential and opportunities for rural women as well. But Pakistan has not started to gear up towards that direction. It's considered 37% urban at this time, but it is the fastest growing urbanizing country in the South Asia. So if we just have a brief look at the figures, there are around, the gender ratio is 106 males for 100 females. That is almost 50%. So 49% of the females, if they are in the population, their representation should also be higher or should also be around 50%. The labor force participation, on the other hand, is only 25% of the females. And more shocking figures are that only 25% of the women with a university degree, they are part of the active workforce. Due to several reasons and biases and discriminations, we all know that Pakistan's economy has 72% contribution employment in the informal sectors. And of those employed, it's 74% females working in the informal sector. So that means it's a huge challenge for the male population as well. If there is just one earning member for 4 to 6 members of a family, it's a huge challenge for the male members as well. And here it is important to actually emphasize on this fact that if the women are economically empowered and they become your partner in every walk of life, then the men will also be empowered. As a result, society empowers, and then the nation will be empowered. So, and then if we look at the other aspect, we often talk about the male-headed families. If we have a look at the female-headed households, it's quite a large number. 12.5% of the households in Pakistan are female-headed households. That's World Bank figures from 2018, just 4 or 5 years ago. So the professions that actually shape the built environment, they are several, not only urban and regional planning. They include architecture, they include traffic and transportation planning, environmental planning, civil engineering, and several others, landscape planning, etc. But they are not providing solutions as inclusive for the women as well. And not only for the women, also for special needs, also for the transgender, also for people with different disabilities or different cultural aspects to follow. And why is this happening? Because women representation at the political level and at the civil bureaucracy level, it's all very low. If women are more than around 49%, then it should be 50% in the political, and at the decision-making levels as well. Then comes the second point. Why it's not inclusive? Because women in the professional workforce are also very few. Both men and women at their houses, at their homes, who actually hold prejudices against the working women, they do not provide avenues for them to actually embrace both the areas of both their work life and their home life. So that adds to another aspect that their voice is not heard. They are not considered in plan. And then there is another aspect which is very important because we are having a rapid urbanization phenomena going on. It's the lack of civic education and empowerment of rural migrants, especially women. There are several who are actually moving towards cities for better opportunities. We all know that they get employed as caregivers and as house helps. Let us develop another understanding or acceptance towards having another area of workforce to actually train them professionally for these tasks. So just a few examples why and how our cities do not actually provide an inclusive environment for women. One, our entire urbanization and urbanism, is basically low density, car oriented, sprawling urbanism. It actually does not support men as well from the middle and lower class incomes, or even anyone who does not own a car or motorcycle. We all know that our car ownership rate is quite low nationally. And to be very honest, and we all know about it, we have just started to see women on the two-wheelers. It's not a big number to state actually. So most of the trips that the females, or especially the lower to middle income females, especially as I mentioned about the informal sector, they do not own cars and they do not have any public infrastructure supporting them in their daily needs. They do not have walkways, they do not have safe crossings, they do not have shades around the walking areas, etc. Then another thing is women's mobility and accessibility is a little different from the men in the sense that the women who are actually responsible for home care, child care, for professional work as well, they need to make smaller number of trips, a large number of small trips, throughout the day. They will be actually going for getting small grocery shoppings, or going to the medical stores, or going for pick and drop services on way to office or back. So it means that their way of traveling will be different, and so they need a different kind of mobility and accessibility options. And so the compact development would actually make their lives easier, which is not the case in Pakistan. Then we all know safety and security is another challenge. We all feel challenged, when we have to move out of the cities and our comfort zones. We all know that the vibrant cities and the cities with enough surveillance equipment to actually oversee our securities and safety is not available throughout the cities of Pakistan. Very few areas are covered, but not much. Then parks and public spaces. They are very, very few in our cities. We all know. Sometimes we just think that parks are the only public spaces, whereas it's not. Public spaces has a range of areas. All your communication network is also part of the public spaces. So the public spaces, including the sidewalks, the amenities, these are not actually accessible for the female. So anything related to the women is actually not only related to women. Anything related to the child that is being cared for, or the elderly or the disabled who is being given that care by the female, anything which is not accessible to them is inaccessible to the women. So, our all urban planning and design aspects, they need to be focused towards that. Then although for both the genders, it's very important, but specifically if we think about cities which have to be accessible for women, and especially from the low income sector, public toilets is something, or restrooms is something which is the big gap in plan. So that is something which should be there and which is not available. And let's talk about the slums and informal settlements as well. So Pakistan has around 45% of the people living in slums, according to the World Bank. Different donor organizations will give different figures. This is just one of the figures. So the settlements have not been planned with proper water and sanitation services. They have dilapidated housing structures. They have bad ventilation. They do not have clean fuel. And then it affects women more because they have to spend time in those conditions more. And then without any reasonable transportation options, they have to bring the water. They have to bring other services to their homes. And it actually causes, negative impact on their health. So in short, we can say that the planning standards are not keeping women as prospective users, but actually, if we have a look at a larger level, the urban and regional planning discipline is actually non-existent in a way in Pakistan. We do not have a comprehensive urban governance framework where we have a system of cities and the kind of institutions to support their planning and development and management. We do not have multidisciplinary professionals to develop adequate working space standards for them. We do not study, we do not research. The R&D is very low. So all these things, and we do not actually develop projects as well. So a carefully designed urban planning system is essential rather than we just start taking a retrospective approach. For example, we are stuck with sustainability challenges. We are trying to retrofit our cities for them. We are facing climate change, then it has to be adapted. So we have to retrofit our cities. Now, if gender dimension is highlighted, then we start talking about the gender mainstreaming or its gender responsive planning. So yes, if we just talk about from the today's relevance of women, we will be just talking about gender mainstreaming in urban planning is something which is very very essential. However, we do need a comprehensive system. So all these things, when we start acknowledging the bias, only then we can take certain actions. And let me tell you another thing. Many a times we talk about the issues which we women face, but let me tell you that the decision makers, the professionals who actually develop those things which have caused problem to us, it's not actually deliberate. It's just that sometimes they are not even aware of our needs. So what actually is required is the awareness for those men, for decision makers, and for including more women, more representation at all levels. So from today's relevance, let's pledge to develop gender responsive systems and policies in all walks of life. Let's remove limitations to prevent women to be part of the active workforce so that our urban economy GDP contribution is boosted. Let's pledge to take measures to include built environment professional women in the active workforce who can design cities to our needs, and also to have a balanced life approach, live, work, and leisure approach for both the women and men. Let men partner with women in caregiving, whether it's a child care or it's a elderly care. Let men have the paternity leaves, for example, just one of the examples. There are several of the things. Let women have the choice to have a better career opportunities. One way could be that we could have professionally trained a set of or a profession of caregivers or house helps. It could actually absorb the migrating population from the rural areas. That's one of the thinking. And organizational level, it's very important to pledge other things as well. We all know Urban Unit has several good policies related to the women. We provide a secure and safe working environment against any kind of harassment. Yes, women who have younger children, they would also be saying that they should be provided with a daycare as well. They are given maternity leaves, they are given medical allowances, and they should be empowered. So we should, just try to find out anything which is biased or discriminatory, and we should take it out. Thank you from my side.